Maybe in the last minute of your life, you want to be something more than a goddamn savage! Sanguinarias are my doctors. Annunziare McDojo. There goes some homo indulgence. Fearless rash, insanity. Be one dance, black game, fantasy. Whale one, broken in sight. He searches, under up the shadows and like this, like being food for the immortal.
What is happening, savages? You are listening to the voice of Immortal Coil, your oracle of whiskey mysticism. Revolution is my name. It is Sunday, the 5th of March, 2023, 11:15 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Fuck that man. Well, it is good to have you guys. It's good to be back with you once again. We just got done doing perhaps one of the best episodes of Midnight Prism that I have been blessed to be a part of. You can find Midnight Prism on Supreme Heretics channel, Drew, our good buddy. You can find that there Sunday nights, roughly midnight Eastern Standard Time. I guess as Sunday transitions into Monday. Good shit here. We got some interesting topics to go over here. I really got charged up by what Drew was talking about, and while we won't necessarily speak about predictive programming, we will see how some of that translates into our ability to determine our own destiny and how we choose to perceive and imagine ourselves, what that could all be. Before we do that, I'd like to invite you to lift high, whatever it is you are imbibing, and join me in the savage salute. Here is to us. What is like us? Not a goddamn thing. Tastes like freedom. Joining us at the moment, we have Random Brad, our savage friend from down under, getting a beer. I hope you're choking it back, sir. We here at Savage Spirituality want to remind you that this broadcast is not for children. This channel can and does contain strong language, sensitive subject matter, images, and content intended for a mature 18 years or older audience. Viewer discretion is advised. This broadcast contains copywritten content. However, under the Fair Use Act, Section 504C2, Title 17 of the United States Code, this content is presented for the purposes of education, entertainment through the use of parody, satire, critique, analysis, and/or social commentary by means of subjective opinion. Yeah, it's been a while, my savage friends. I am in the midst of revamping my channel. We will have some of the old, some of the new. Trying to just venture out and grow beyond my initial sort of foray into broadcasting. As I've trudged further and further into this whole experience, and especially with last year being as fucked as it was, I'm sure you might have noticed I did not broadcast for a couple months there, and it's just the sense of what can I truly do that's unique unto myself? Uh, I I perceived quite a bit of difficulty in competing in the fandom menace sort of realm, and not that I won't touch on fandom menacey topics, but I don't think I need to be the 900th person telling you that there's something wacky with Disney, or that it's kind of weird that there's race and gender swapped characters all over our beloved entertainment. We also have Darius Munchausen. Hail the coil. Hail you, my savage friend. Appreciate you joining us tonight. Now there's a couple things, I live up in Washington State. Over this weekend was the Emerald City Comic Con for 2023. Today, this event marks the 20th year, the 20th anniversary of this event. And of course, it is to celebrate all things dorky and pop culture, which we know is slowly warping into something very, very strange, like stranger than it's ever has been, because it's touching upon that social engineering realm. Now, back in the day, we had limited sources of entertainment as far as things that truly made us think, because most things were ready-made dramas. If you were a kid in the 70s, 80s, whatever, you remember that there was usually some pretty cool cartoons, and then if you were sick that day or whatever, it got really lame, and then like you'd have to listen to your mom watch her soap operas or something as she ran the vacuum cleaner. It just there wasn't a lot of inspiring stuff. We talked about Shark Week, we talked about the Discovery Channel, we talked about the History Channel all over on Drew's thing. But then when it came time to expand our horizons and start to think for ourselves, we had shows like Star Trek, movies like Star Wars, movies like Terminator, if we're talking about cautionary tales, things like that made us think beyond our current situation, or whatever fucking usefulness it is. Um, but what's slowly ended up happening here is that we had the powers that were, as I like to call them, realizing that the stuff that we were consuming was bolstering ourselves up too much for their own comfort. Because, like, woe be unto them, should we actually learn how to think for ourselves. Now, it's interesting here because I suppose the biggest cultural debate as far as pop culture is concerned occurred when George Lucas sold the Star Wars and Lucasfilm IP, and we suddenly had all these weirdos trying to reinvent Star Wars, which is one of the most beloved tales ever spun. It's gonna be on par with like the Iliad and shit centuries from now. And it's really sad to see like this sort of a CW kind of theory of storytelling. And I'm not here to tell you like backstage rumors or whatever the fuck other channels are reporting. I am here to give you what I call the savage perspective, which goes something kind of like this. uh, Again, just a few moments ago we were talking about how there is an old adage that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Now, what does that mean? Spirit is the fundamental creative energy, the fundamental creative vibration. It goes all the way back to the prime creator, what some people consider to be God. I personally find that term lacking, although I do use that term in interaction with my fellow man, simply because that seems to be the most basic way to distill that idea. I do, however, find that idea in its distillation uh, tends to be inadequate for my personal understanding of it. But I also believe that um, no man can dictate to you what the prime creator is. That is something that between you and the prime creator. I find religion and dogma to be tools of control that has nothing to do with the liberation or discovery of spirit or your full capability as uh, and I hate how this term has been bastardized, but a, a woke individual, an enlightened individual. I think that that's perhaps a more precise language. And in this day and age, even our verbal language is under attack. I can't say the same things the same way that I used to say to you without it having some sort of like sideways, stupid fucking side journey through your neurons about what other possible meaning can this be because of our exposure to things like Twitter and YouTube, and not the good Twitter, not the good YouTube. Uh, like the people that we hang around and the channels that we watch, those are delicious. Don't, you know, I'm talking about the people who are trying to farm your brain and redefine what simple little terms actually mean in modern day usage. These are the things that they're trying to unscrew our young's head and then dump all this fucking shit, like sprinkle it like paprika into our impressionable little minds, and then screw it back on, pat them on the ass, and send them running out into the world, unsure of what their fucking genitals should even be. It's crazy. It is crazy. Um, I'm digging the feedback I'm getting here. We got Tina Bojan joining us. Good evening, friends. Random Brad is 100% on that savage. Uh, and then, yeah, we got Darius. It's good to see you guys. And whether you are watching this live with me now or you're watching it on replay, because I know it's pretty fucking late for most of the people out there, or unless you're on the other side of the planet, welcome, welcome in. You guys are the savage elite. Uh, Basically, the fact that we understand this shit is what tends to separate us from our fellow man. And it's really odd because it's like at on the one hand, it's like I want to just completely fade back from society and sit on the fucking mountain, but I know that that would be a disservice to humanity. And like the other half of me wants to save the whole fucking world, but it's like, do these people even deserve it? I would like to think so, yeah. But do they even realize the truth that they're hearing? I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but that shouldn't stop us from trying, right? Um, Now I wanted to share with you guys a specific article here that I found, and it's gonna start off kind of like how the old channel used to go, but there's a whole different spin to this that I'd like to show you guys, and it's essentially like I was saying. We got this article from fucking Screen Rant, right? And it's talking about the validity of Luke Skywalker's Jedi title. Now, why is this important to you or to me, and why do I want to share this with you? Um, when I was a kid, when we were all young, being a Jedi, the idea of what a Jedi was completely different than how it's being portrayed now. Okay. Luke Skywalker was presented as basically a yokel, right? He was just this like fucking idiot out on his uncle's moisture farm, uh, you know, chasing fucking rats off of his evaporators and wasting time with his friends at Tashi Station, right? And then lo and behold, these fucking droids come through his life, and then he suddenly realizes that he has a powerful lineage, something that he has to live up to, something that has been hidden from him and kept from him. And he goes through all these trials and tribulations. He loses his fucking arm. He watches his father die, and in the end, he is rewarded with being a Jedi Knight. Except here, in this fucking article right here, uh, And it's not the fucking article's fault. These guys just, Caitlin Tyrell, I'm sure you're a nice person. We had basically the inheritors, as it were, of Lucasfilm in the modern day. Because let's face it, Kathleen Kennedy has proven herself inept, out of touch. And many of us were looking to Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau to save Star Wars, as it were. And a lot of people want to believe that that's what they're doing. I don't really have an opinion on that. Star Wars is either going to suck or it's not. I don't have faith in the modern iteration of Star Wars to be what Star Wars was. In my head, George Lucas, all the shit that he oversaw, and then the books that were written under his tenure, that's what Star Wars is. Okay. But these guys sat down with with Screen Rant, of course, uh, in advance of the new season of The Mandalorian coming out, and they were speaking with the interviewer. Dave Filoni floated out the idea that Luke Skywalker might not have even been a fucking Jedi. Right now, 2 years ago, was it 2 or 3 years ago, whenever the second season of Mandalorian came out, Luke Skywalker showed up, killed a bunch of robots, made some of us cry. And then Baby Yoda went to go train with Luke Skywalker, and we were like, fuck yeah, that's how it should be. But here in this thing, I don't know how much of this I actually have to read to you. I'm not going to show you the Maverick guy. That guy looks kind of fruity. The article goes, oh, I'm sorry, this is from 4 days ago. This would have been the 1st of March. The Mandalorian executive producers Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau debate Luke Skywalker's status as a Jedi. Jedi were nearly wiped out from existence when the Empire rose to power and destroyed the Jedi Order. Because of this, many Force-sensitive children were never trained to become Jedi. There are a few notable exceptions, including blah, 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 blah. Let's go to the horse's mouth. Screen Rant recently spoke with the pair about Mandalorian's 3rd season. So here's the direct quotes. Dave Filoni. The interesting question is how you define when someone is a Jedi. That's the real question, because a Jedi is a way of training. It's a way of philosophy and being. I think I'm putting too much bass in Dave Filoni's voice. He sounds like a virgin. The interesting question is... Then Jon Favreau goes, well, Grogu trained with a Jedi. Filoni. Grogu trained when he was young, and so did Luke. Yoda didn't confirm that he was a Jedi, remember? He says, oh, you think you're a Jedi? Not so fast. He had to pass the trials. Favreau. But he also said, you'll be the last Jedi when I'm gone. Filoni. That's interesting. We've seen a few more pop up. Okay. Now, this is where I have a problem with it. Okay. Andrew Tate's genital warts. I am done with Star Wars so much. And I don't blame you. I do not blame you, sir. This kind of shit is what pisses me off, because essentially they're trying to redefine who Luke is. All roads basically lead to the fucking Ryan Johnson bullshit. And they're trying to convince us that Luke is inept, does not know what he's doing. Well, let me tell you this. And before I tell you this, if you guys could go ahead and like the smash button, that would be great. I don't need Dave Filoni to confirm or deny Luke's status as a Jedi in my head. You know why? Because the Dark Lord of the Sith conferred the rank of Jedi upon Luke Skywalker. Remember that? Luke throws away his lightsaber and he goes, I am a Jedi, like my father before me. And what does Darth Sidious say? So be it. Jedi. I'll tell you what, if the Dark Lord of the Sith says you're a Jedi, you're a fucking Jedi. Dave Filoni, shut the fuck up. Okay? Now, here's the thing. Being a Jedi and passing the trials and all this shit is it's symbolic. Okay, it's metaphorical, and especially in this modern day, this age where there is attack upon men and upon masculinity, right? Yes, Andrew Tate. They demasculinized him, took his balls and cucked him. Yes. There is a metaphorical attack within this storytelling, make him the one that essentially yokeled him. He's going to take it over and walk a bitch when we know not to be true, right? So let's talk about the attack on masculinity. Let's frame this in terms that we can identify with, right? I hate that we can't even use the word identify these days without shit like this turning sideways. Okay. It's not surprising to us that males, stand up proper males, are the only ones that are capable of physically resisting uh, this idea of the matrix, of the world of the illusion that they're trying to pump into your head. I was thinking about this earlier. Okay, now I am in a position where I had to more or less reboot my life and walk away from all the things that they told me I should do, and it took a kind of sideways fucky form, but I am glad that it happened because I'm essentially able to reassemble my life from square one. Part of that is that I get to take public transit, so I get to go outside and breathe the clean air and think about shit, meditate on shit. Um, I listen to things where people claim to have some sort of abstract spirituality, and usually they define it in terms of religious dogma. So it's like, okay, I'm going to wake up early on Sunday and wash my ass and put on a suit and go and sit in a building with an antenna on top of it and talk about how sorry I am about all the bad stuff that I know I shouldn't be doing, but I'm sorry. So I'm going to uh, clean my dirty hands and then go back into the world. That is not spirituality. I'm sorry. And I'm not shitting on your choice of religion if that's the religion you chose. I'm saying that what you're doing on Sunday is basically absolving yourself of all the shit that you know that you shouldn't be doing anyway. And you shouldn't do good out of fear of retribution in some sort of brutal afterlife scenario. That's just not how the universe works. That's not how the force works. You should do good because it's good to do good, right? I don't wake up on Sunday to go and spend time with God or whatever the fuck you want to call it. Every waking moment that you are self aware and paying attention to it, you are walking with God. That's the meaning of it. That is walking, moving meditation, paying attention to the coincidences that are happening around you, the things that have nothing to do with not paying attention. Life is not random when you are walking with God or whatever the fuck you want to call it. All of these things are evidence that the great zipper of life is zipping up, right? That's why it's annoying when they try to talk about Luke Skywalker not being a Jedi. In the story, Luke is not just handed the mantle of Jedi, right? Now we can kind of dissect that because there's the father son thing here. Anakin was discovered, and the mantle of Chosen One was just thrown upon him. You know, he's just like a kid fucking playing in the sand, fixing shit for Watto, you know, bringing home uh, whatever money he earns so that his mom can fucking survive. And then one day this Jedi shows up, and because of the shit that he was raised with, he goes, "Hey, guess what, Anakin? You're the chosen one. Why don't you come with me and like save the whole fucking galaxy?" Right? And the point of that story, the reason that we Darius Drew needs the great zipper of life for his jeans. I don't even know if that can contain the beast within. Um Supreme Heretic. Here we go. I spend time with God all the time. Jesus pointed it out to Nathaniel when he let him know, I saw you when you were praying under the fig tree. Don't need a building. I love that, buddy. Correct. Uh, God, the prime creator, whatever the fuck you want to call it, created the entire universe. Therefore, the entire universe should be your temple, right? Only man builds brick and mortar buildings and tell you this place is more holy than that place. Invisible lines. Invisible lines, savages. Yes. But back to Anakin. Now, he was conferred the title of Chosen One without having earned it from a very young age. And what do we know about things that are not earned but just given? They possess no value. They possess no value. How can we bring that into concrete terms? Well, think about it. And I'm going to use an example that I heard that I think is really good. If we relate it to money, okay, you take two people, you take one person who is a trust fund baby. What does that mean? That means like your daddy worked hard, and when you turned 18, you got $1 million or whatever, $100 million. Maybe let's use that amount. So what do you do with $100 million when you turn 18? Well, if you have no discipline, you're a fuckhead, and you go out and you buy cars and houses and hookers. And if you're not buying real hookers, you're buying women who basically act like hookers. And you're just a fuck off. You don't invest it because it means nothing to you. It's a number on a piece of paper or in a fucking computer terminal that your daddy gave you. And then you take somebody else. You take somebody who created it themselves. They invented something. They contributed to society, or they simplified a very difficult process for a large number of people. Those people earned their $100 million. Now, what's the difference there? I'm going to say in this analogy that it's like the difference between the way that Anakin became a Jedi and the way that Luke became a Jedi. And yes, Luke was a Jedi. Fuck you, David Filoni, for that. Here's what's interesting. Anakin was handed something by sheer virtue of existence, right? The midi-chlorians created him. And maybe it's interesting that the midi-chlorians created him because Darth Plagueis and Darth Sidious were fucking around with the very forces of life and death. That's a very interesting piece of expanded universe lore. James Luceno, Darth Plagueis novel. Go read it. That's real Star Wars. Anakin Skywalker did not appreciate the paradigm that the Jedi existed on. And Darth Sidious saw that. He manipulated him. He got him in his feelings, right? And this is one of those things like I'm not saying that men don't have feelings. Men are emotional beings in a different way than women are. But male emotions are very different from female emotions. And I'm sorry, Anakin, when he was younger, he was a fucking bitch. He thought shit was wrong. He thought it was weird. He thought, like, you know, he could force things to be the way it should be, and blah blah blah, and he was jealous and possessive and unappreciative because, again, he got handed a gift by the Force, right? It's like that chick you knew in high school, and when she was 16, she had like perfect double D tits, and like everybody wanted to kiss her ass or lick her butthole or whatever. Do you think she cared about uh becoming a deep person, emotional intelligence? Nah, fuck no. Nah, older kids were too busy driving her around and buying her beer because they wanted to lick her butthole. Anakin wanted life to lick his butthole, and then when it didn't, he turned into Darth Vader and killed everybody, right? He did not appreciate what was given to him freely. Now, Luke Skywalker, on the other hand, sure, I guess Ben Kenobi fibbed to him a little bit. He was like, yeah, your father was one of the best skilled Jedi I've ever seen, and it's too bad he's dead. Here's his lightsaber. And Luke's like, well, I want to be a Jedi too. And Ben's like, okay, that's cool. Your fucking uncles are toast anyway. So yeah, let's go up to fucking Mos Eisley and find a ship out of here, right? Ah, Supreme Heretic, bro. I need that levity. It cuts the stress. Yeah, fucking A, dude. Yeah, it's always good to come back to humor. If you lose your way, just lighten shit up. Laugh at yourself. Laugh at the absurdity of life. The way that we have life set up is fucked. I was thinking about this earlier today too. Think about 400 or 500 years ago, what it meant to be a free man, and it was very hard to be a free man in Eurocentric, whatever. But if you'll follow me along this line of thought, we didn't have like instantaneous communication. News traveled really slowly. I want to think about those scenes from Braveheart where they had runners, like literal runners. You had to participate in relay races. There was no Pony Express. Somebody had to like run and fucking tell you what was going on. And sometimes it took days or weeks for news to travel. And then you had to carefully weigh and consider what the fuck was being communicated to you and weigh out your response to whatever the fuck came to you. And then you had to decide how to act, if to act at all. Because again, the rate that the information travels, your response would travel similarly and could affect things for years or for generations. So in a very visceral and real sense, your choice in the moment now could affect your entire line, could affect generations of your line and other people's line. Now, the thing is, we don't think about that these days because everything's so instantaneous. And we think like, well, that episode's over, on to the next day. But we're leaving like this like slimy slug trail through social media, you know? This example has been cited before where you go and you look at your great grandmother's photos, right? You probably have to go to your mom's house or whatever, and she has it in her attic or whatever. And you open it up and you look at like, oh, here's your great grandma when she was 18. What was she doing? She was like wearing a dress. She's probably waving. She, going to school or whatever. Or maybe she was married already. 18-year-old girls 100 years ago got married, right? If they weren't already. What's going to happen 100 years from now? Let's go look at pictures of great grandma, and then she's on OnlyFans showing her butthole to everybody for $5 a month. We don't stop to think about the consequences of our momentum, right? What it's going to say about us later. We don't consider how it affects our family or how it will affect our legacy. You know? That's killer. I'm glad you guys are showing up here. Having a good time. Yeah. Um, to relate it back to Luke Skywalker, okay? The Jedi Order was destroyed. He meets Obi-Wan, and within a, you know, and this is something that I don't think is really expanded upon in the 2 hours that we get to spend before, but get about the one and star system to another star system. I'd really like to believe that they were traveling to Alderaan from Tatooine, and it probably took a couple weeks, So Luke Skywalker did get to learn something, a little something from Ben. He at least got to feel the Force. He got to practice with a remote. Arguably, he opened his mind to communication from a Force ghost, right? But then he loses Ben. He sees Ben, to his eyes, get murdered by Darth Vader, who all he knows about Darth Vader at this point is that that's the guy who killed all the Jedi. And then here he is killing Ben, right? We're going to, that business on Kid and Amoria doesn't count. And I don't think fucking Kenobi, the show, counts. Hashtag Kenobi meat, right, Drew? And again, that's retroactive continuity. That's some bullshit that Disney, don't get me started. We're just going to stick to canon, to actual canon. So Luke Skywalker loses his mentor, or does he? He starts to hear voices in his head. And this voice in his head, and he even admits it. Maybe I'm going crazy. I don't fucking know. What do you think, R2? So he's hearing voices in his head, and he's talking to a robot. He's like, well, I guess we're going to go to the other side of the galaxy and see what the fuck's there. And he crash lands, and he's like, I don't even fucking know what I'm doing here. God damn it. R2, get the fuck out of the mud. What are you doing in there? Shit. And then suddenly Yoda shows up. And Yoda's kind of fucking with him at the beginning. He's like, what are you doing here? What's going on? And he's like, you wouldn't get it. You're just this fucking booger that lives here. I'm looking for a Jedi Knight. And he goes, oh, you're looking for Yoda. And he's like, how the fuck do you know? Yeah, I'm looking, I guess. Do you know where he is? And he's like, yeah. You'll be with him soon. Come on. And he starts going like, oh, yeah, so why do you want to be a Jedi? And Luke's like, I guess it's because of my dad. And then Yoda's like, oh, shit, your dad was a badass. And he goes, well, how do you know my dad? You're just a fucking booger. And he is oblivious because Luke has to work for it all. It's not handed to him. He realizes who the fuck Yoda is. The voice in his head materializes and becomes a Force ghost and says, yeah, I know this kid's kind of a dork, but train him, see what happens. And Yoda's like, okay, I guess I'll train him and see what happens. And again, like, I don't think the movie is good at showing you how long he was there. If you read the books and shit, he was on Dagobah for between 1 to 3 months. And he's the failure at the cave, and he's learning how to play with rocks, and he tries to do the X-wing, and just none of that shit works. I'm sure Yoda's teaching him lightsaber form, but he can't get this idea out of his head that his friends are in trouble, which is Vader doing a dark side trick. He interrupts his training. He's like, hey, fuck you, Yoda. I gotta go and use my Jedi shit that you just showed me to save my friends. And Yoda's like, well, it's not quite like you think. Ben even shows up. He's like, poof, no, don't do that, because that's what Darth Vader wants you to do. And he's like, well, Darth Vader, blah, 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 blah. And what happens? He goes and he tries to save his friends. He gets his arm cut off. Trials of the flesh, right? He gets beat to shit by Vader. And then Vader goes, I'm your dad. I killed all the Jedi and I'm your dad. And guess what? You can become more powerful than the fucking Emperor. We could rule the galaxy. Blah, 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 blah. Luke is suffering. Now let's parallel that to the attack on the man, right? Men have to live in a world of pain. Nobody cares about most men. Most men are invisible. But you know what? Our pain and our suffering, once we climb through it, creates strength and creates a foundation for everything that comes after it. Once we have conquered our pain and our suffering, we are able to stand the fuck up. And you know what? That is powerful and that is attractive. And there's a lot of forward momentum to that. That's the point of the trials, as it were. Now, back in Anakin's day, the trials were some kind of like bullshit holodeck. I don't know, some kind of I don't. It doesn't fucking matter. Like it's almost like there's a phenomenon in martial arts. Do you guys know what a McDojo is? A McDojo is where you go and you basically pay the karate master for a set of neat pajamas, and then if you stay with them, eventually you'll get belts of different colors. But do you actually know any valid fighting technique? Can you take care of yourself or a loved one if a violent situation occurs? Or did you get your belt from a McDojo? The place that I train, they say belts are for holding up your pants. You know, there was no ranking system. Your ranking system was how good are you versus the other people in the class. And then that's kind of how you figured it out. You figured out pretty quick that if you don't learn how to block, you'll get punched in the face. That's how it goes. That's what Anakin had to deal with. Luke had to deal with getting beat to shit and having his arm cut off by a Sith Lord who happened to be his dad. Right? He learned all this shit the same day. Then he has to clean up the mess that he himself made. The fact that he went to go thinking he can go save his friends with his new Jedi shit. No, he fucked his friends over. He had to go and clean up his own damn mess. And that's something that is inherently coming of age. When you embrace what it is to be a no shit fucking man, you realize no one's going to come along and wipe your ass. And if somebody does come along and wipe your ass, they're going to be doing you a disservice. Because what are you going to learn? Life is easy. Somebody's going to come along and wipe my ass. No. When you're a man and you embrace your fucking masculinity, whatever you want to call it, you will clean up your own mess because you perceive that this is going to haunt you until you deal with it. Right? Luke Skywalker saves his friends. He's like, yep. And then he goes back to Yoda. And Yoda's like, yeah, you know, blah, blah, blah. I'm about to die. And he goes, well, I am a Jedi. And he goes, no, you're not a Jedi yet. You have to confront Darth Vader. And then what happens? Darth Vader, and again, Dave Filoni, you're a fucking retard. And I don't know, is David Filoni like purposefully trolling just for the sake of trudging up controversy and press for this show that may or may not be good? And if I know Dave Filoni, here's his recipe. You guys ready? I can be David Filoni. We're going to do a season of, let's say, 13 episodes. And only 5 of them are going to be good. The other ones are going to be Mando having to complete side quests. Right? So it's like, okay. Here's my best Mando voice. Okay, Grogu. According to this, I need to go and bathe in the waters of the purified waters of Lake Minnetonka to get back my honor because I took my mask off and I showed Bill Burr my face. Are you ready to go with me to Lake Minnetonka? And Grogu goes, "Ooh." Okay, but before we can do that, I need to take this widget to the dog who's going to give me the wheat chaff to go give to the farmer. And the farmer's going to give me the shoe that I need to take to the frog who's going to give me the magic poison to shoot the arrow at the target that's going to open the door to Lake Minnetonka. Right? And then, like, we'll see Ahsoka once. We'll see, like, Luke maybe. Baby Yoda is going to force push the antelope or whatever, the monkey guy, out of the cave. And they're going to say, yeah, Cara Dune was pretty hot, but I guess she's a space ranger now. So I could be David Filoni. That's all you got to do. But Luke Skywalker, to say that he was not a Jedi Knight is bullshit. Emperor Palpatine conferred that rank upon him. Darth Vader, he lit up Luke's lightsaber and he knew right then. That's when you first saw Darth Vader really shit his pants about Luke. And when I was younger, I didn't understand that. When I was younger, I thought that he was I thought he was having a moment in his fifis. Darth Vader's like, like the Grinch where his heart like grew 3 times. I thought that that's like Darth Vader's like heart was starting to, maybe there's a little bit of Anakin in there. But no, Darth Vader was afraid of Luke Skywalker at that point. And I didn't really realize this until I started getting into the Sith lore. And again, this is why it's important to this is a marvelous metaphor for life. There can only be 2 Sith, a master and an apprentice. If a challenger for the apprentice arrives, then it's up to the true apprentice to reveal himself, and that's through ritual combat. Or actually, it's not even ritual combat, it's through actual no shit life and death combat. And in the comics, all that kind of shit, Darth Vader was challenged many times by would-be Sith apprentices. And usually it goes like this, like some fuckhead would come up and be like, yeah, you're a cyborg, Darth Vader, so fuck you. I'm gonna kill you and become the Emperor's fucking new toy, whatever. I'm gonna jerk him off. And Darth Vader's like, fuck no, you won't. And he destroys the guy. And he always goes back to the Emperor and he goes, so if this guy destroyed me, would he be your guy now? And then the Emperor's like, that's how the fucking Sith works. If you are too weak to repulse any claimant to your throne, then you have proven that you are unfit for the Sith Order. And same thing, Darth Vader knows that he must at some point kill his master if he wants to become the Dark Lord of the Sith. Except Darth Vader got the ultimate transhuman experience. Right? It's fucked up. It's so fucked up. But yeah, Darth Vader's scared of his son because he knows his son can kill him and become the apprentice to the Dark Lord of the Sith. Right? So it's in Darth Vader's best interest to convince him to become Darth Vader's apprentice and let's go kill Palpatine. Right? Now, all this shit about this is something else I didn't understand when I was a kid either. The Return of the Jedi is not the Return of the Jedi Order. No, it's the return of Anakin Skywalker, Jedi Knight, or Jedi Master, I would say. Once he destroyed the Sith, I believe Anakin became a master. And I don't know. I don't really care for Hayden Christensen as the Force Ghost, but it is what it is. It's much better than what Disney ended up doing, right? So that's essentially it. Luke Skywalker earned the rank of Jedi Knight. Darth Sidious confirmed it. Darth Vader confirmed it. Dave Filoni does not get this. Either that or he's purposefully trolling shit like this. But we have to measure this, like I said, within the realm of metaphor and what it means for the struggle of life. Right now, the thing that makes Star Wars special is that these people have metaphysical gifts. Right? We were talking on a Midnight Prism about the pineal gland, about psychic ability. Uh, the Jedi possess telekinetic abilities. They can see the future. They can predict moves in combat. They can use the Force for knowledge, psychometry, or whatever the fuck you want to call it. When I was younger and first starting to deal with things like Kundalini and lucid dreaming and having my encounters with non-human entities, the idea of a Jedi was a very powerful image in my head. And to have this image polluted by I don't know, opportunists, charlatan opportunists, is a disservice to what the idea of becoming a Jedi could be. This is an opportunity or an avenue for humankind to imagine a grander experience for themselves than they currently have. But the powers that be cannot stand that, because you know what happens if suddenly there's like 7 billion Jedi? There's no way that they can convince us to wake up and put like processed dinosaur skin into our fucking car and go to work and fuck no. No, we'd want to explore time and space, right? That's what awaits us. That's what they're scared of, because then they lose control, game over. And then Earth becomes what they don't want it to be. It becomes utopia. It becomes a focal point for the whole well, let's start with the galaxy. It becomes a focal point for the galaxy to wake up, because if all the other sentient races watch humanity wake up, suddenly there's 7 billion Jesus Christs. What effect do you think that will have on the whole rest of creation? Right? Is that too scary a thought? Is that too grand of an idea? Too grand of a gesture to entertain? I say it's not. I say it's not. Random Brad says, don't forget cat Supreme Picks, please. Yes, we do that tonight. As Sunday turns into Monday Eastern Standard. Good stuff. I'm digging what the chat's saying. You guys are awesome. Let's see here. Oh, you guys are all over that. Look at that. Incomplete was your training, says RR. Yeah, Vader fucking schooled him. Absolutely. Pain lets you know that it's real. Anakin got the fast food trials. Yeah, Mick fucking Dojo. You guys are totally picking up what I'm throwing down. Yeah. Yoda said it himself. If you take the quick and easy path, an agent of evil you will become. And think about that too. Let's go back to the OnlyFans metaphor. You get girls who are like 18, 19 showing their butthole to the internet, making $1 million or whatever. They're not going to appreciate anything. Right? You get some fucking turkey who inherited $100 million from his dad, you're not going to appreciate it. You didn't work for shit. Right? The golden lightsaber arch. Right? Supreme Heretic Drew. I'm in the midst of one of my greatest struggle periods in life. When I pass through this, I'll step into an entirely new life track. Yes, sir. I can tell you anything that's worth having does not come easy. And if it's easy, it's not worth having. The second somebody gives you something for free, you will burn it up and not appreciate it for what it is. The thing that you create with your own 2 hands, that's what's going to liberate you. A man is a product of what he has created. 100%. 100%. Here we go. More Star Wars wisdom. Unfortunate that you rush off and complete was your training. Not ready for the burden, were you? Right. And that's also the thing too. This is why I find it funny that Luke was painted as an inadequate teacher, because Yoda, well, number one, Yoda was 900 years old, so when 900 years old you reach, but he knew that there was nothing that he could tell to Luke. He tried to tell Luke. He was like, look, man, if you fucking take off right now, all the shit that you're working for is going to be undone. And not only that, you're going to waltz in there and think you can save the galaxy, but that's going to be turned against you, and you're going to turn into an asshole like Darth Vader. And they didn't even tell him that Darth Vader was his dad. I had that feeling that if Luke would have exhibited a little more patience, then when they judged him ready, they would have been like, okay, here's the thing. Darth Vader's not only an asshole, he's your dad. Right? Not ready for the burden, were you? Okay, you guys caught that. How about some pancakes, bitches? Yeah. It's totally Dave Chappelle. Glad you guys are digging that. Vader, yeah, he's a Robo Sapien. Says the guy with the RoboCop avatar. That's killer. Author Stephen fucking Walton. Well, speak of the devil. How you doing, sir? Hail Immortal Coil, hail Trans Fat. Appreciate you showing up, buddy. Darius says, if you saw how much your dad sacrificed his blood, sweat, and tears to save that money he left you so you could have a better life than he had, you might appreciate it. Correct. And that's the whole point of this this lecture, this episode of Savage Spirituality. And I think that that's actually a really interesting point about pop culture too. I don't know if you guys watch Disparu's channel. He's a British. I don't want to call him fandom menace. He's a social. Uh, I don't know. He's an entertainment commentator, but he happens to point out things that are fandom menace adjacent, I would say. But he had this whole thing about how in the Velma show, the big bad was revealed to be Freddy's mom. And I'm sorry if I'm spoiling it to you. I'm sure you guys were like foaming at the mouth to go watch the new Velma. Ugh. But basically, she was revealed to have been jealous of Freddy's dad for amassing the fortune that he did. So she married him so that she could kill him, so that she could take over his fortune, so that she could make the company into something that was defiant of the patriarchy. But the point that Disparu made was that, well, she didn't earn that money herself. She married into it, and then she had to kill the motherfucker to get it, or attempt to kill him. Right? That's bullshit. When you don't earn through the product of your own toiling massive reward, you will do evil with it. You will promulgate evil into the world because you do not understand the value that you hold. And not only that, that's just material, illusory value. If you had $100 million and you're using it to buy like fucking yachts and what, Bugattis and shit, fuck you. That is so selfish. And maybe this is just me. You know what interests me is like liberating humankind. Why don't we like invest in like Star Trek replicator technology or like free energy devices? Stop all this fucking like pumping oil out of the ground and using it to create explosions in the hood of your fucking car. Imagine if we invented something like the matter replicator and we take something as abundant as hydrogen and used it to make like food and medicine. That's why they want to bastardize Star Trek. That's why they want to show this bleak black future of evil fucking like corruption, like Starfleet's just like, yeah, the patriarchy. Nah. I'm digging this. Well, I'd like to appreciate you guys for kicking it with me. I know it's incredibly late there on the East Coast, but I like to do this after the Midnight Prism. Drew, I love him to death, but having pierced the veil and been on the other side, there are certain perspectives, I call it the savage perspective, that I'd like to emphasize and get you guys to think about. Because again, one of Yoda's best quotes about size matters not, this crude matter, right? No, luminous beings we all are, right? Not this crude matter. So think about that. Imagine that you behaved as if you were unrivaled, limitless potential spirits made by the prime creator in the image and in the likeness, capable of the same thing as we are enfleshed. Now, manifestation might take a little bit longer because of the heaviness and the density of this realm, but it is possible. I know because I have used it to effect. There are people in this chat who use it every day to effect. Now, I'm saying don't use it just to like make your day better. Ooh, I'm going to win the lottery tomorrow or find $100. No. I used to do this. Okay. I used to lead a nightly meditation, and I would spend part of it just setting it up and explaining to people how meditation works because a lot of them had never done it before. And I would use the front part of it to just meditate and clear my own antenna. And then I'd sit up and I'd look at everybody else meditating, and then I would use the second half of it to bolster their meditative practice. And it's sort of like if you're into the Star Wars EU, it's sort of like that battle meditation. Same thing. Bolster their connection with the divine, because these people who have little to no experience are entrusting me to facilitate their introduction to it all. I'm going to pray for their well-being. I'm not going to sit there and be like, well, tomorrow I want the chick with the big tits to come say hi to me because my dick. Nah. All that stuff will follow. The fruit of the toil of your blood and sweat will produce abundance. That is how it works. So, on that note, fuck David Filoni for saying this. Hopefully he makes some good Star Wars. I doubt it, but And then I'd like to ask you guys, my savage friends, lift high one last time, whatever it is you are imbibing. Join me in the savage salute. Here is to us what is like us, and not a goddamn thing. And until next time, my friends, stay savage.